Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you everybody for coming out. Seriously, it's
Yeah.
All right, this question is for Sean. Can you tell us about the origin of this film and what brought you to this story?
Sure. My co-screenwriter, Chris Brigosh, and I, we're doing research in the adult film world for a film that I made 3 films back before Tangerine called Scarlet. And we were on these sets of adult films and getting to know the people within that industry. And we found, we basically met a handful of Mikey Sabers. And we realized there was this archetype within the industry. This guy doesn't represent all men in the adult film industry, obviously, but there was this archetype, and they even had this slang term applied to them, suitcase pimp. And there were these guys who were basically male talent who lived off of female talent in the industry, and I found them quite fascinating. Their psyche and they had similar character traits and similar ways of thinking, and I got to know them, and we said back then, someday we're going to tackle a character study with this of one of these guys, and it took 10 years to do it, but that's essentially how it began.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Okay, so Simon, can you tell us a little bit about how you were casted in this project?
Yeah, I was basically sitting around last July. I live out in the desert, and I was just not doing anything like most of us were last July, work-wise. And I get a call from a mutual friend of Sean's seeing if Sean could have, is this thing on? Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sean wanted my phone number. I said, of course, give Sean my phone number. We had never met. And so Sean calls and says, hey, I need you to audition. Can you just read this one small part of this scene that was like the opening scene where you see me come beg to be let in the house in the beginning? So I just sent it to him from my phone. And about a day later, he hit me back and said, I need you in Texas in 3 days, but I can't deal with your agent or your manager because they're gonna slow everything down, so do you trust me? And I didn't even know Sean, but I trusted him because I'd seen his film. I just did. And he goes, we're not gonna make any money, we're gonna make a cool movie, just get out here right away. And I said yes before I read the script, and then I read the script and I was like, oh shit. Used to that much dialogue or that much serious dramatic acting and all that stuff. So anyway, it happened pretty crazy, and then I got there 3 days later, I met everybody, and off we went.
Well, that's showbiz, baby. I love it. Susie, what was your casting experience like?
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. I had just moved to LA and I was going to the movie theater, the ArcLight Cinema, and Sean saw me, said hi. I directed the project, if you know it. I said, oh my gosh, yes. And then it took 2 years to actually get an audition, but when I did, it was very fast. I got the part like that day, read the script that night like 4 times, and I was obsessed, and then drove to Texas like 2 days later.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow, so you move really quick, Sean. I love it. So Sean, why Texas City, Texas, and how did you find that location?
Yeah. Well, we knew we wanted to shoot in a refinery city on the Gulf of Texas, but we didn't know where. And when we got into hard prep on this film, which was I believe June of 2020, my producer Alex Coco and I just drove to Texas, drove to Corpus Christi, started there, fell in love with Corpus Christi, but we said let's continue, let's keep looking. We drove up the coast, falling in love with every refinery city, and then we rolled into Texas City, and it was like, there was this huge water tower that said Texas City, the all-American city. So it was already speaking to me there, and then, well, it's one of the largest refinery cities in the United States, so you can point the camera in any direction, and it's like you get those vistas and those landscapes with all twisted metal and smoke and everything. So, and then we started discovering the history of the area, and it spoke to me as well because it's a very sad and disturbing history. Texas City had a major explosion in 1947 that killed 581 people. In the 80s, there was a chemical leak that affected people. Over next door in Galveston, there was the greatest natural disaster ever with the 1900 hurricane that killed over 12,000 people. the Texas killing fields, the port in San Leon with the slave trade. It seemed to have this dark cloud over the entire area, and yet there were people the people we met were loving life, full of joy and very welcoming, and so it was that too that I was like, we're already tackling the theme of history in this film, so let's use this as like a nice backdrop to complement that. So that's why, essentially.
Yeah. So Simon, you've been in this industry for a while. How come we've never seen you in a role like this?
Quite frankly, I don't think that, I don't know, I never really got the opportunity to. I think I got stuck. I remember when I did a scary movie, like 20 years ago almost. Anna Faris said, "You're gonna get stuck on Scary Movie Island," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, you're not gonna get taken seriously for any roles because they're gonna be like, oh, he's the scary movie guy." And she was right. That's kind of what happened. It was difficult. Like I remember my agent saying, "Oh, we can't even get you an audition for like a dramatic TV show or anything," because so she was right. And I think I got kind of disenchanted with Hollywood, and I kind of turned my back on it for a while. And then years later, he called, and it was sort of just, I guess, right time, right place, a little luck, a little bit of, I think Sean said he had followed my career for a long time, so knew who I was. So, but it's interesting because I didn't quit the business, but I kind of put one foot out the door. Like I moved out to the desert, and I was like, you know what? Maybe the Hollywood thing's over. I don't really care if it is or it's not, but I'll do it if it, So it's kind of like surrendering, and then I get pulled back in. I don't know what the lesson is, but I'm not saying be a quitter, but maybe let go a little sometimes.
Yeah, always keep one foot in the door too.
Yeah, at least that's how it was for me.
All right, so Susie, your voice in your rendition of Bye 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 is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I even went on YouTube and I've been listening to it nonstop, by the way. It's amazing. Is singing something you do?
Yeah, I love it. I've always had like a crippling fear and shyness, but I still do it anyway because I'd rather do it scared than not do it at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the single's been released.
Oh, yeah, check it out on Spotify. It's everywhere.
Oh, I do Apple Music still? Because I'm old and I only do Apple Music.
And I have to say, it was actually because of Susie that the NSYNC song is in the film, because we discovered her great talent and then we wanted to just put it on display, and so we wrote the scene and then tried to figure out what song would contextually fit. So it really stems from Susie, I feel. Yeah.
I love it. So Susie, Strawberry's a really complicated character. In essence, we're watching a child getting groomed by a much older man. Was that hard for you to play? And what approach did you take?
It wasn't hard for me to play because I took it as I was grooming him. I was using him. I had the agency. I was using him to get to LA. And I'm 26 years old, and these are the people that should be portraying those characters if we're gonna do them. So yeah.
Absolutely. So Sean, you tell a lot of stories of working class communities. Why do you find yourself drawn to these people and their words?
I don't know if it's really just working class, but I think my films are sort of a response to what I'm not seeing enough of, and at least in U.S. film and TV, and it's just those who are not as represented as much. And I would like to see stories about communities and cultures, subcultures, microcosms, however you want to look at it, but just more often. And because it seems like, I don't know, for me it seems like a lot of, for the most part, our stories are all New York and Los Angeles. The stuff that we put out with this industry, and I'm interested in exploring more than that.
Yeah. So Simon, Mikey is a complete asshole, but also extremely charming. He's a hustler. Why do you think we need to spend 2 hours with a guy like this?
I think it's entertaining, and it's there's not a lot of anti-hero movies anymore. I remember growing up back in the day, and there was a lot more movies that felt like this one, which I love, sort of like a deplorable main character. that, yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think we all know this person, whether it's a guy or a girl. It's not just in this industry. I think they're everywhere. They're the type, whatever you want to diagnose it as. I don't know how you would clinically say. It's probably like a sociopathic, delusional narcissist, something like that. But my mom calls them energy vampires. You hang out with someone and you just deplete. You're like, why am I? They exhaust me, and that's Mikey. And I think we all know that person, or we dated them, or they're in our family, or mathematically, there's a couple in here. I don't know, I'm not saying who. They're out there.
Oh, Susie, this was a really intense role, physically, sexually. It's not something we see a lot on screen these days. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. No one's like Sean Baker.
The legend, Sean. So, this was shot on a 16mm film. Did you guys know that?
Yep.
How did you pull that off with such a tiny crew?
Well, Drew Daniels, our cinematographer, is just amazing, like absolutely amazing. And he had a first AC, a second AC, and a gaffer grip. So the entire, camera crew was 4, and including him. So it was just he was fast. We were on the same page all the time. And I love the look of film, obviously. We talked about films like Sugarland Express and how Spielberg and Vilmos Zsigmond shot that area back in the 70s and how we felt they got it right. They had it perfect. So we do a lot of nods to Sugarland Express. And, altogether it was just, as a filmmaker, I've worked in several different mediums, but right now I think it's time, if we can, to champion celluloid, to champion film, because if not, it's going to go away. So Kodak is the last company manufacturing it, and if any filmmakers out there, it's not that much more. It doesn't cost that much more. So let's I'm trying to say, let's stick to film right now, and my little rant. Sorry guys.
We love it. Simon, what was it like working with your co-stars?
It was great. This was her first big job, and I remember, and I hope this is not an insult at all, but I remember you being a little nervous because you were like, between, it's okay, and I would help calm you
I was
down.
staring right into the camera. I didn't know.
Oh, you did? I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
my first.
Oh, you're on your foot. But then, to your credit, you were nervous, and then I remember helping you, be like, it's okay. And then as soon as it was lights, camera, action, she just lit it up. And I usually experienced the opposite. I would be on sets, and you would see an actor who's kind of, comfortable, and then when the cameras roll, they kind of lock up and get nervous, but you were the opposite. So I wasn't worried about you immediately. And then Bree, who plays my wife, is a theater actor for 20 plus years. She's just incredible. She's just really made me raise the bar. And then everyone else in the movie were first time actors that Sean hired in Texas, which was really fun to work with because, they didn't bring any ego or any expectations to set. They were just happy to be there, and they were just real, and it was like them in their wardrobe with their real accents. So it just kind of made my job easier than as if it was shooting in Burbank with some fake house with fake Texans and fake outfits. It just makes it more real, and I wish more movies were made like this.
Yeah. So, Susie, what was the best day that you had on set?
The best day was also the worst day. And it was the roller coaster scene. And it was the worst day because I was so scared. But then it turned into the best day because I felt like I could really call myself an actor after that scene. It was hard. I had to wait till the 7th tick to say my line. Now the roller coaster tick, tick, tick. So I had to be scared shitless, listening to the ticks, clutching onto him, and looking pretty because it wasn't a scene in which I was scared. So I had to look confident, and it's just hard and scary and awful, but wonderful.
Simon, what was your best and worst day like on set?
I remember one day the woman, Brenda Dice, who plays Lil, my mother-in-law, didn't show up one day, and we couldn't find her. And I guess Sean knew how to handle that more because in the past he probably has worked with first-time actors and he was used to this, but I was kind of freaking out because I had prepared all this dialogue that was a lot, and then since she wasn't there, Sean was like, okay, we got to do all these other pages, and I did not have them prepared. So I remember kind of freaking out a little bit, and That was a challenge. Oh wait, no, can I change it? It was the train. So the train scene that we had one chance to get as the train goes in the background when I, pseudo propose to her when she thinks I'm proposing.
It only passes once a day.
Yeah, and so we had to get that, and the pressure was really on because it was like, okay, you got to get this exactly right as this train goes by because this is the only day we're here and it's the only time the train goes by. And if you don't, we got to do it without the train. And Sean really wanted the train, and it added so much. And then I remember the guy blaring the horn. It was perfectly on time, like interrupting my dialogue to her.
Yeah, that wasn't a post-production sound.
Wow.
The conductor hit that freaking horn on the frame I would have chosen to have, and it interrupting them, and therefore Strawberry not know, saying, "Are you proposing to me?" So it was like,
it was perfect.
It was all those serendipity moments and happy accidents throughout the film.
Yeah.
That happened. Like every day, there seemed to be like a disaster followed by a miracle, followed by a disaster.
So this was shot with a small crew. How small was the crew, Sean?
10 altogether. So 4 in the camera department, 1 sound, Alex Altman, 1-man band. My sister, who is the production designer on the film, her name is Stefanik. And then all the other crew positions were basically filled by the 4 producers. So yeah, they're incredible. They're freaking incredible. Shi-Ching, an example, Shi-Ching Zhou, who's in the film, she plays Miss Fan at Donut Hole. She's also producing, she's also continuity, she's also costume design, and drove a lot. A little bit of transportation too. Yeah.
So what do you hope people think about when they walk out of this film? And all you guys can answer this question. It's for everybody.
There's a lot to think about. So many people have a different experience, they tell me, from this, and it kind of holds a mirror up to them, like, what do you take away from it, or I don't know. So I think one thing, it's like maybe we could relax a little bit more about like sex and nudity. I feel like Americans are so wound up about it. It's like, I don't know, when we were just in Europe and France and other countries, they're so much more relaxed about sex and stuff that I think maybe Americans can lighten up a little, but we'll see if this changes anything. Yeah. I doubt it.
Now, I mean, I leave so much up to the audience actually to be interpreted that I really, it's really what the audience takes away on their own, how they've applied their own ethics to the film, how they've applied their own politics to the film. I don't really, if I start talking about what like any message that I'm trying to get across, I'm preaching. I'd rather it have, so there you go.
I love it.
I don't know, I hope they take something, how the way you treat people affects everyone. I mean, Mikey is such a jerk. I don't know, just something that makes you a better person maybe. I always like leaving the movie theater feeling like I'm a better person.
Absolutely. Was there anything else you guys want to add?
Just again, thank you so much for supporting our movie, our theatrical window. It means so much, and if you liked it, please help us out on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, go to Rotten Tomatoes. Because someone gave us a splat, we need to negate the splat. So we
And
have
recommend
one
this movie
splatter.
to all your friends too.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Thank you guys
Thank you,
so
Annie.
much for
Thank
coming.
you.